Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Umbrella by Pandasaurus Games.
In Umbrella, you and the other players are going to be on a Broadway musical production stage, and you're going to be trying to do the choreography of the different moving umbrellas in this scene where it's raining and there's umbrellas and everybody's moving back and forth. Really, that's not what's happening in this game. That's just the theme. This is more of an abstract game, as you are going to be sliding these umbrella tokens, trying to match a different particular pattern on your board, using all of one color to make that pattern. And if you're the player who can match these patterns quicker than everybody else, then chances are you're probably going to win this game. Let's go down to the table where I'll show you how this game works, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have Umbrella on the table. Let me show you all about this pattern building game. Now, what you have for components with this one, each player is going to have their own player board that looks something like this. The different colors at the bottom are going to be a little bit different, denoting the different types of player boards. Each player is going to have an arrangement of these wooden umbrella tokens that are going to be painted on the tops of them of the different colors in the game. You've got blue, green, red, and yellow, and there are certain spots that you are supposed to place different colors of umbrellas on your board in an arrangement where you're going to have four colors, four of each of the four colors somewhere on your board. Each player is also going to start with one of each umbrella at the bottom of their boards. There are going to be these sideboards in between each player, and so you'll have one on your left between you and the player to your left, and then you'll have one on your right between you and the player on your right, and again you'll have one of each umbrella on each of those boards. And then this board right here would actually be in the center of the table, and that would be above each player's board, but I've got it set off right here for right now. You do also have lots of these scoring tokens. We'll come back to these here in just a minute. You won't play with all of these, but you'll play with a good number of them. And then you do have one long tile here that goes into this board right here. These are dual boards, dual recessed boards. And so this little tile right here slides and fits into this spot right here. This area is dual recessed as well, so that these tokens cannot slide out of these spots right here. Now, these tiles right here, these are going to be double-sided, and they are going to have differing degrees of difficulty on them. If this is the first time you've played this game, you'll be playing it on this particular one with just one block filled, but these are going to be the scoring regimens that you are going to play by for that particular game, and obviously they can be wildly different depending on what degree of difficulty you're playing. There is another one right here that is going to be the 2 blocks, and then the 4 blocks, which is the most difficult, challenging version of the game. But I'll just explain to you how the base game is going to work. You do also have lots of these tiles, which you can barely see. They're not on frame. You have lots of these. These are going to be double-sided. One side is black, one side is white. Doesn't matter. They're both equal, and they function in the same way, but these are going to be the different patterns that you are going to be trying to build throughout the course of the game. And each player is going to start with 2 stacks of 2. So we'll take these 2 tiles here, and again, it doesn't matter whether they're white or black, so we're just going to flip one side to be black and one side to be white. And you'll want to line up the asterisks on each of the tiles in the same way, but then you'll also want to line it up with the box that you are putting them in, which are going to be the first 2 boxes on your board. So we will want the asterisks in the top left for the first box and the bottom left for the second box. And now we're ready to play. So how this game is going to work, what you'll be doing in the game is you'll be taking a tile from either the board to your left, the board to your right, from the bottom of your board, or the board in the middle, which again would be up above your board, and you'll be taking the tile that you take and sliding it into your board, pushing a tile off to the opposite side of the board that you are pushing towards. So in other words, if it's my turn, starting with the first player, you would choose one of those 4 options: the board to your left, the board to your right, the bottom of your board, or the board in the middle. let's say that I take from the board to my right. Now, I can take any tile that's available to me on that board, and if I'm taking from the board on my left, I think I might have said right just a second ago, I would then choose one of the 4 rows, and I would push my tile that I'm taking into that row, and it would obviously cause one tile to be displaced out the opposite side. As I push from the left to the right, I displace one of those tiles off to the right, and that tile that gets displaced is going to go on the opposite side board. So if I take from the left, I push from the left to the right, and then I remove that tile that gets displaced, placing it on the right board. Obviously, if I took from the right board and push from right to left, it would displace a tile onto the left board. If I take one of the ones from the bottom, I'm going to push from the bottom to the top, displacing a tile from the top, and that would go to the center board. And obviously, if I took from the center board, I would push from the top to bottom, displacing one from the bottom onto my board at the bottom. Now, what am I trying to do here with all of this? Well, I am trying to build these patterns. And so this pattern right here would have me need to have an umbrella here, 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 and here, and them all be the same color. So taking a look at my board right now, I've got 2 greens right here, so I'm half the way towards this one. If I could press this green up here, which could easily be done with any of the tiles that I have at the bottom of my board, say for instance pushing this red up, knocking this yellow out, and now I've got a green in this spot. This one would go to the center board. All I would need to do is get a green right here. That's easier said than done. As you will find, this is a challenging way, because now that I have this here, I can't simply just take a green and push it this way, because now I've displaced my green that's there, and it's going to end up over here in this spot. That's no good. I just messed up this one just to get this one. So as you can see, there's some challenges here to figuring out how to solve this push puzzle. Now, each player is going to make one movement, and then it would be the next player's turn. If on your turn you do satisfy one of the tiles that are in front of you, so let's say, for instance, that I was able to get the pattern here with my green umbrellas, I would then take one of these scoring tokens and I would place it on one of the matching colors for what I just used to complete this particular pattern. So in this case, green. Now on this particular board, what I've got for scoring wise here, I've got 4 different groupings, and if I completely fill in a grouping, I get the points listed above that grouping. So I did just do green, so I'm going to put it right here on this particular green one. And if I were able to fulfill another pattern with blue and another pattern with red, well, then I would earn 5 points at the end of the game. That's how this all is going to work for you. After I complete a pattern, I then hand this to the player to my left. And when they receive it, they have to keep it on the side that it's on, but they would have to place it on one of the spots that are empty. So, and again, rotating the asterisk to the spot that it is on for the particular spot that you're on. So the next player would take this and they would place it in this spot, and now the pattern looks like that. And if they were to get another one, then obviously they would put it here. But then once all of theirs are filled up, well, then if they were to get another one, they would have to choose one of the ones that already have one on them. And, well, now they can't work towards this. They're going to have to start working towards this particular one. And that's the idea here with this. Now, there's a couple of ways for how the game is going to end. If you run out of these scoring tokens, the game is going to end in that manner. If instead a player has no scoring tiles left on their board because maybe they've removed all of them off of their board and the player to their right has not fulfilled any of theirs to be able to pass them off to you, and you don't have any on your board, well, then you have nothing to work towards. The game is going to end in that particular way as well. Now, I do want to point out that these boards could become cleared off because maybe we remove all of them off of there and we're not pushing on any more towards that board. Well, if the board is empty, then you just can't take from that board. You can only take from the other 3 options. Now, you're inclined to remove the ones that are on your board down here because these are actually going to be worth negative points if you still have them on your board at the end of the game. They're going to cost you 1 point for every one that you have down here. So you are inclined not to take too many from the center board because that's just going to add more at the bottom of your board. And you will get 2 extra points if you don't have any on your board at the bottom at the end of the game. Now you are also going to receive victory points for each of these tokens that you have here on this board, in addition to the groupings that I mentioned. If you have a complete grouping, you earn the points for that grouping. But that's pretty much the gist of the game. Whoever has the most points based off of these tokens, as well as what you've got down here at the bottom of your board with the umbrellas, that's going to determine who is going to have the most points, and that person wins the game. And that is how you play Umbrella. Now let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Umbrella from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So going back to the top of the video, I mentioned that this is like a musical production. That's really just the flavor text on the back of the box and the rule book. There's absolutely no real theme with this thing. This is straight up abstract, as you probably saw in the rules portion of the video. So much so that you almost wonder, why did they even put that theme in the game? I don't know. Because it just, you know, I mean, I suppose if you're somebody who's very theatrical and you've maybe acted out a scene like this, you'd connect with that. But otherwise, I don't know that that really has any bearing on the game.
I don't think I even remembered.
No, this is really just, you know, one of those push puzzle type of experiences where you're pushing one thing left and everything moves to the left, or you're pushing it right? And you're just trying to match these patterns. What were your thoughts on this one?
I mean, it's abstract for sure, and I like that. We played it more than once in the first time we played it.
I think we played it 3 times.
Yeah, so again, I think that's usually a good sign. It was a unique game with the moving of how everything worked, but it was very easy to understand.
Okay.
But it was very frustrating because you couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever met my goals.
Well, so yes, it is frustrating, and I think it balances on that line, that fine line between frustratingly fun and frustratingly just frustrating.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's kind of like you never feel like you can really get going, or you're just right on the verge and you just need one more thing, and there it is. Oh, no, they took it. Like that kind of experience, right? And so for me, I just had really bad luck playing this game.
Yeah.
And it just felt like I could never get really going in this one, whereas some other people, they have much better luck than me. I don't know. And I don't know if that's necessarily just like I was making poor choices. I just feel like other people were able to get to where they needed to be a lot faster. And I don't know that there was much else I could really do a lot of times. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're coming from.
Yeah. Now, the game is very simple, right? I mean, it's, do I take from the left? Do I take from the right? You don't really want to take from the middle, you know, far too often, because that's causing you to have to take tokens.
Yeah.
Because the ones that you're on your board are negative points. You want to get those done before the end of the game, which that is a fun aspect.
Yes.
What did you think about that?
I think I forgot about that. I know I forgot about that rule the first time we played.
Yeah.
And ended up with a lot of negative points. So the second time I was like, I got to pay attention to that.
Gotta get rid of those before the game comes to an end.
You're so focused on what your board looks like that you kind of, that kind of.
Well, and the thing about it, the reason why I feel like it's so fun is because, you know, a lot of people are going to they're incentivized to push their tokens to the middle because that's the only way you get rid of the ones that start on your board. And so there's usually pretty good choices with what's in the middle. And taking from the middle, pushing things down is an easier path to completing those tiles more often than not, because you're pushing things towards you rather than pushing them off your board. And that just seems to work better with those tiles. So I feel like there's a good strategy of early on taking from that board, even though it adds stuff that you don't want, and then later on in the game pushing it back off your board, getting that stuff off there. So I feel like there's an ebb and flow with that. That can be a pretty fun experience with the game. Let's get to pros and cons for Umbrella, the bullet point things that make this game work and maybe the things that don't work so well. So Sam, what stood out to you in a good light from a non-gamer's perspective?
I mean, it was very easy to understand. Us and our 2 friends got it pretty quickly, and it was quick enough for us to play multiple games of it.
Yeah.
So I think that those are all good things.
And there has to be something to be said for the fact that our friends who don't play a ton of games were asking to play this on again. So they were the ones really kind of saying, let's play it again.
That reason right there is we'll keep this game around to pull out again.
Yeah. Anytime I hear a non-gamer saying, yeah, I want to play that again, there's got to be something that is really kind of drawing them back to it. So, simple teach, simple idea with the game, pretty straightforward. And as I was just saying before we got to pros and cons, it does have that nice little ebb and flow with when to move things around and when to get them off your board.
Yeah.
So I like how that the dwindling supply of the scoring tokens can really kind of make you feel like you're gripping the table a little bit right there towards the end of the game. So what maybe doesn't work so well?
I mean, it definitely, it's a one-trick pony a little bit. Like you kind of just get, after a while, you're like, okay, I get it. It's not changing.
Right.
Your strategy doesn't really change either.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Just you know what you're getting with this game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not trying to be anything that you don't expect it to be, right? Like, it's not this huge big box idea kind of thing. It is a little bit of a one-trick pony, and I think it could get samey if you were to play it over and over and over again every week. But it's nice for being a once in a blue moon, once in a while type of experience. I do feel like luck is a factor, and I think, there's that concept of like this person over here, they just have the right tiles and they're able to get things when they need it, and it just works out well for them. I will say, and this is, something we've noticed. I don't know if this would happen 100 times out of 100 or even 70 times out of 100, but I do feel like first player or second player has more of a chance to win in bigger player counts. And I experienced being the last player a couple of times that you are at a big disadvantage, because if somebody triggers the end game before it comes to you, you get one less turn than everybody else. And that stinks.
Yeah, I think we ended up making it a house rule that he would get.
Everybody should get equal turns. I don't understand why that's a rule in the game. It really bugged me because it happened to me twice. And the second time it happened to me, I was like, we're house ruling this. We're never playing it like that way ever again. I did. It didn't matter. But it stinks because if, there's just no good reason for it if you didn't have anything to do with turn order to begin with. So that should change in the game. All right, let's get to our scores for Umbrella. Sam, where does this one come in at for you? Scale of 1 to 10, love to hate.
I liked it. I had a really good time playing this game. I would give it a 7.3.
Okay, fair enough. I think I'm going to come in right at 7 with this one. I think this is the kind of game that if you were to ask, or if our friends were to come over and want to play it, I'd be down to play it.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable experience with that house rule that I just mentioned. But otherwise, I think it's a good one to play with the lighter gaming crowd. I don't know that it would be one that I would ever kind of reach for myself to play with a heavier gaming crowd. But for what it's billed to be as, I think it does a pretty good job. So there you have it, 7 and 7.3 for Umbrella from Pandasaurus Games. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this one.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button to get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.